In this video, we're going to take a look at generating random numbers in C#. I've opened Microsoft Visual Studio. We're going to go to our File tab and create a new project. And because we don't really need all the features to create a game, we're not going to use MonoGame this time. We're just going to create a simple console app. And let's give it a descriptive name, and we will call it Random Demo. Okay, if you want to use random numbers, you need to have Using System up here at the top. If you're doing a program in MonoGame, I don't believe this is here by default, so you will have to add that. When we're doing a console program, it appears that it is here by default. Okay, so we are going to delete the comments here. We'll leave the read key there so we can hold everything on the screen until the user presses a key. And what I want to do is I want to create a new random number generator variable. The type is random. And you notice it turns light blue, indicating it's a predefined data type. And I'm going to call it RND. And you can do this in two separate steps, but it seems to make sense to do it all in one. So this, the first part of it here declares that we could have stopped with a semicolon there. But it doesn't have a value, so we have to initialize it, and this calls the constructor for random. And so now we've got a random number generator that's been initialized. Okay, so now let's just try seeing what we get. Let's do a simple for loop. So we'll go through this loop 10 times. And what we'll do every time is we will print. Okay, so let's print out 10 random numbers. So we've got some choices here. We've got next and next bytes, next double. The only two we're going to be concerned about here is the next, which will give us an integer, and next double, which will give us a double. So I'm going to do next, and then if I do parentheses here, I've got three choices. The first one says it will return a non-negative random integer. Usually, though, what you want is it between two numbers. Frequently, one of the numbers is 0, and the low number is 0 up to some maximum, and that's what this version will do. If you want a random number from 0 through 9, you put the number 10 here. Just kind of like the way you normally do a for loop or declare an array. The upper bound is not included. And the third version here is you can give a minimum value and a maximum value, and it does include the minimum, but it does not include the maximum. Okay, so let's just put the number 10 in there, and we should get a random number from 0 through 9. And actually, let's do this a few more times just to make sure that no matter what we do, we always get a number from 0 through 9. And you know what? I think I'll just do it right here. And we'll put spaces in between the numbers, and let's go ahead and run this now, and it should wait for us to press a key before it closes. Okay, and if we look at the numbers here, we see numbers from 0, we see numbers up to 9, we don't see any double-digit numbers, and so it is generating a random integer, and you don't really see any pattern here. Although this 4 4s in a row is kind of interesting, but if I run it again, which I'm going to do right now, I will get a completely different sequence of numbers. Obviously, I don't remember what I had before, but I know there were 4 4s in here somewhere, and they are no longer here. So that is how you can generate a random integer. If you want a lower bound, let's say we want a number from 10 to 20. then we would have to put 21 here on the upper range. So it'll include the 10, but it won't include the 21. Let's go ahead and get 50 of those numbers. Okay, and all of the numbers here start with a 1, except for there's a 20, got a couple 20s, but nothing higher than 20, nothing lower than 10. So that's how you generate random numbers. So say you want to simulate dice, you're rolling a dice. Well, the smallest number I want is 1, the biggest number I want is 6, 6 plus 1 is 7. So if I do this, it will simulate rolling dice for me. And there we go, a bunch of random numbers from 1 to 6. Let's say what we're doing is we want to generate a random color. And we want a random red component, a random green component, and a random blue component. Those components occupy 1 byte of memory, so they're going to go from 0 up to 255. So since 0 is the default for the lower end, I don't need to include that. So if I just put a 256 here, it'll give me random numbers from 0 to 255. And let's do a few more of those. Let's do 250 of them instead, and we need a whole pile of numbers here for output. But every one of those numbers that we see should be less than 256. I don't know if the number 255 is in here or not. I don't know if the number 0 is in here or not. Here's what we'll do. We'll do 1,000 of them. And I'm thinking if I do 1,000 of them, I should have a pretty good chance of getting let me see. The only way I can do this is I have to store the number in a variable. So I'm going to declare it a byte variable equals so I want to take a random number from 0 to 255 and store it in a byte. Now that number will always fit in a byte, but the type that's returned by random in this case is an integer, which is 4 bytes. And so what I have to do is I have to make sure that I tell it, now make that number as small as a byte. And, whoops, I didn't give myself a variable. Let's call it num. Okay, so now if I do this here, this invokes the random number generator again. And I will not get the same number that I got up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just print out whatever the num is. And the reason I need to store it in a variable is because I want to check the value afterwards. And I can't call the random number generator again because I'll get a different number. So if num is equal to 0 or num is equal to 255, then what I want to do is just print out some stars so it's easy to find. We got 1,000 numbers going to be printed out, and so we're going to have a lot of numbers to look through. This should make those numbers jump out at us. Okay, and they do jump out. Here is the number 0. Here's the number 255. I don't see any again for a while until I get down here. Here's the number 255 again. So here's the number 0. Here's number 0 twice in a row. That's interesting. But in general, the numbers appear to be fairly random. If you want a floating point number, you use next double. And so I'm going to do double. Now here what I have to do is I have to change this to double as well. And I don't want to do this. And next double does not have an argument, so that gets rid of the red wavy lines for me. And I don't really need to do this. Now if I do 1,000 doubles, that's going to be quite a bit, because I'm not sure how many digits of precision are going to get printed out here. It's possible I'm going to get 15 digits of precision for every number. and that's what I'm getting. And that's a lot of stuff to go back and look through. But if you kind of look at for the decimal points, they kind of jump out at you. They all have a 0. So to the left of the decimal point. So all of these numbers are between 0 and 1, including 0, but not including 1. So that takes care of two of the most common ways of generating random numbers in C#.